Awesome. So thank you for joining the show today. I have boy, have I got the guest for you. I have got a guest that is all round fabulous. She's known as the Sparkle Queen because she sprinkles her sparkle effect on everything she touches. And when you listen to the episode, you'll understand why. So I've got with me today Naomi Osemedua, and she's a renowned mindset coach, national transformation strategist. She's a global speaker, and she's featured on in high impact events and spoken across, check this out, 4 continents. She works with people and drives them to gain self-awareness and lose those things that hold them back and help them realize their true potential. I'll let her tell you a little bit more about herself, but welcome and thank you today for joining the show, Naomi.
Thank you so much, Tombra. I'm excited to be here, and I'm truly honored to just be a blessing to your community. And thank you for having me.
Oh, great. I am excited, more excited than you in some ways. I want to tell us a little bit more. What haven't I introduced about? What's not on your on the script that I just read out? Tell our guests a little bit more about us, about you.
Okay. I'm a mom. I'm a mom to 4 kids. That's not in my bio.
Oh.
And yes, it's important that people know that, because sometimes it's almost as though being a mom puts you in this little box where people don't really expect anything. And so I've had people see some of the things that have happened and they're like, oh my God, you're married. Oh my God, you have kids. And I'm like, yeah, I do. So I'm a mom to 4 kids. I have 3 sons and a daughter. And my daughter's name happens to be Sparkle. And it's quite profound, yes, how that came about, because I had boys and I just was like, I need a girl. And then I watched the movie Sparkle and I just fell in love with that name. I checked out the meaning and I was like, gosh, I need this. I need a sparkle in this house. And, it took a bit of time and she came. She showed up and she's really Sparkle. Oh my God, she's Sparkle.
I love it. And little did you know that it will be the birth of a brand for you, essentially, Sparkle with Naomi.
Yeah, so the thing is, so I got the name first and then I got pregnant actually, but then it was another boy. And so he went with Samuel. We couldn't call him Sparkle. And then I got online and I started, my live streaming show. After a while, I felt I needed a name for it. And my husband was like, why don't you call it the Sparkle with Naomi show? Because you're always talking about people, being the light and you want people to sparkle. And so it became the name of the show. But up until this point, Sparkle hadn't come and the company wasn't registered. In 2016, yes, 2016, November. Oh my goodness. I found that I was pregnant. And it was about that same time I actually registered the company because it was getting bigger. And I was like, oh, I have to register this with the Corporate Affairs Commission in my country, Nigeria. And so when I got pregnant, it was like, oh my goodness. So the company was now registered. And people who knew the story that Sparkle was the name that I kept for the daughter I didn't have, were like, oh my goodness, I pray this is Sparkle. I pray this is Sparkle. So everyone followed that pregnancy. And on June 30th, 2017, I had her. And I remember just going online to say, Princess Sparkle is here. So
such a beautiful story.
Very profound. And the truth is, like, I thought her birth was going to slow me down, because really when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, oh my God, not now. Everything is just picking up, I was finally getting the hang of, live streaming. People were connecting with me from different parts of the world. I was like, surely having a baby now is going to slow me down. Little did I know that she was like, we own this company. It's Sparkle with Naomi. And so we're doing this. Believe it. At 5 months, I got an invitation. As a matter of fact, I just gave birth to her when I got an invitation to speak in Zambia. And so the first invitation was September. She was barely 3 months. So I didn't get the visa. And they were like, no, we're going to apply again. And they applied again, and I got it. Sparkle was 5 months old in November. We flew to Zambia. Hmm.
What?
I'm telling you, it was her first
Love
trip,
it.
of
I
course,
love
and
it.
this girl was international, and
I
we went to the
love
Victoria Falls. Like this girl, she
it.
wasn't even done. By February 2018, she was 9 months. I got another invitation to go to Dubai, and
Oh,
she flew with me. And Sparkle was in the air, and she went to all the fancy places in Dubai. And at 11 months, we got another invitation to speak at Social Media Week Nairobi. But this time around, she was teething and she had a bit of a fever. And
oh
so I canceled at the last minute. But this little girl, before she was one, would have been in 3 countries. Like this
my
girl, she came ready.
goodness. That is dedication. That is
Ah,
dedication to the cause. She knows that, she's in it. So
yep,
definitely love it, love it, love it, love it.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Naomi, you've kind of alluded to the fact that you're busy, you're doing things. I want to start there. Who is Naomi now?
Mm,
Naomi today.
mm,
What do you do? What are the different hats that you wear, and how do you embody?
mm. So pretty much, I could sum it up with one statement, which is I'm on a mission to die empty. And truth be told, it finds an expression through me being a teacher, through me being a coach, through me being a speaker. It finds an expression through me being a mom, being a wife to my husband, Richard, who happens to be a chef. And
Not a
my
bad,
whole life,
bad place to be married to a chef.
it's profound, really. My whole life is really about service, and I really just want to bless the world with the gift of me. And I truly believe that we're all here not to exist by ourselves. There's a greater cause. There is purpose to why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
And every day I show up. I once was asked a question. How would you know that you're successful? And it was simple. I said, for me, success is dying empty. I don't want to take the gifts that I have to the graveyard. But the truth is, every day I wake up, I am dying empty. Every day I wake up, it's with the intention of I am going to bless the world with the gift of me. And so, whether it's through my content on social media, through my mentorship circle, or through the people that I call family and friends, or even total strangers, I'm intentional about leaving someone somewhere better every day I wake up. And so every day I'm successful. Every day I taste a little bit of success. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
I love it. So have you always been like that? So I want to kind of go back now a little bit. So as you know, on the
Yeah.
show here, we speak to people that I term warriors,
Mm,
people who have, had things or setbacks or, adversity that would have otherwise put them down, but have found a way to push through. So I speak to them as a way to, show other people, an example of people who have lived that life, that resilient
right.
life. I've come out unscathed. And what I call unscathed is a mindset that isn't harmed by experiences, a mindset that manifests, the highest self, regardless of what you've been through. So I want to kind of go back a little bit to talk about, who you were before and some of the things that
Mm.
to overcome to become who you are now.
Yeah, that is so profound because really, someone once said when I heard you talk about sparkle, I knew that there was a dark side. I knew there was a dark side before the light moment came, and he wasn't far from the truth. I grew up pretty okay. I mean, I was daddy's girl. I'm still daddy's girl even at 42, and it never goes away. Don't hate. And I I grew up in Delta State in Nigeria, but I was born in the northern part of Nigeria, and then my father was working at an oil company then. And so in 1989, I was 11. He got transferred to serve in another country. So we pretty much spent my teenage years in Brunei Darussalam. Now,
Okay.
getting there was really fun. It was great. But somehow puberty hit me really hard, and I found myself really just blowing up. And I was different, so my friends were Asians, they were Americans, they were Europeans, they were Indians, and their hair was different. And I had this big old afro. I
Oh,
didn't even know, I didn't know what I was going to do with all of that hair. It was just weird. It was just a lot. And then I became really big, and for someone who was small,
mm,
I just got really big. Yeah, so blame it on the burgers and pizzas and all the yummy stuff I was having. But it was just funny that I didn't look like my friends. And
mm,
so I really started struggling with, low self-esteem because people would call me fat. I used to get so angry. I would never want to speak to anyone who ever called me fat. Like that was it.
mm,
Friendship over. In 1993, we came back to Nigeria. It was pretty okay. By 1996, I got into the university. I always wanted to study medicine because I always wanted to help people. As a little girl, I thought it was just being through a medical doctor. And so I got into Ambrose Ali University, Ekpoma, and I didn't pass the JAMB exams, which was a prerequisite, but there was another option for me to get into the degree program. But then there was a problem. When it was time to switch to medical school, the university was not accredited then, the medical department. So I tried to get into another school, and I spent 9 months at the University of Ibadan. And it didn't work out because that year they were not taking transfer students who did not do the JAM examinations. And so I had to go back home.
mm,
Now, at this time, those who I left behind were almost done, and
mm,
I was literally nowhere. The thought of going back was like, never. I already said goodbye. What am I like? That was so shameful. But after a year and a half, almost two, I had to go back.
mm,
And at this point, I could say my self-esteem was just down the drain. I am pretty smart, so it wasn't like I wasn't intelligent, but it just wasn't working the way I had planned and imagined. And so when I went back to Ekpoma in the year 2000, it was rough at the beginning, but it got okay. I got very involved at the local church. I was really serving. I was doing good. I was happy. It was good to be back. I just loved the new community that I was a part of, not minding that those I got into school with were leaving. They were
mhm.
graduating when I came back. But I was okay, but apparently there were things going on the inside that I had really not dealt with. And so it should be April or May that there was a big festival that was going to happen with like a concert, like a carnival. And so they paired me up with this guy who we were both going to be like official compares. We were going to like, just host the event. And he
Yep.
was pretty tall, fine looking, charming, Christian brother. And so we had to work closely together. And in the process, everyone just felt, oh my God, you guys are the perfect couple. So yeah, before feelings were all over the place. And we fell in love. But there was a problem. Our pedigrees, our backgrounds were totally different. And he had a pretty popular past.
Mhm.
So he had been in the cult in school, as we say back here, the fraternities for those who are outside Nigeria.
Mhm.
And he had a season of rain, they would say like a reign of terror. And so his name was out there. Like my parents got to know and was like, no way. But I was like, I met him in church and he's a good guy.
I met him in church.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and I was just not ready. For the first time, it felt like someone saw me, felt like, someone loved me for who I was. And, I was like, there's no going back on this. And so I was 22. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask how old were you, but you've just
Yeah,
answered.
I was 22 and,
How old
I
was he?
was
How old was he?
He was 28. We're 6 years apart. He was 28. He was pretty much done with school, but he had come back to sort of get his certification for the youth course service, which is mandatory for Nigerians. And so that's how we met, and I just felt this is it. This is it. Nobody's stopping me. And my parents had their reservations. I was so bent on getting married. We actually printed wedding cards. I snuck it to my father's friends, thinking if my father saw it, he was going to say yes, but there was no convincing him. I can't even describe what happened that night that they found out because my dad's friends called him saying, congratulations, your daughter's getting married. And he was like, oh my God. Even saying it now, I can't even imagine what was I thinking. I can't even imagine how my father didn't have a heart attack. Like, what? And he
What?
got home. He got home and my mother literally lynched me. Like, you're gonna disgrace this family. It was horrible. They went to the local church where we had been doing marriage counseling. So we had been doing all of that, but we were at the point where the church needed to see the parents.
Friends.
And I was like, okay, the only way we're gonna get a yes is if we do this. It was ridiculous. Of course, it didn't work out. And the church was like, if you're not a part of it, we're not a part of it. And so here we were told not to communicate. But the further they tried to pull us apart, the closer we got. So he found a way of getting a letter to me. And in that letter, he promised this world where it was just going to be the two of us and, everything was going to be great. And I believed. And so on November 10th, 2000, at the age of 22, my parents went to work. My baby sisters were in school then. And the university was on strike. We had this, strike going on. And so school was out of session. And I just wrote a note and told my parents I was done. I wanted to live my life and I was going away. And that's it. I
Wow.
left home and fast forward 9 years later, 2009, I had become a single mom with two sons and a victim of domestic abuse. And it was devastating because I lost everything for this love. I had given up my family. At some point, it was like, you could walk away and go anywhere you want in the world. But I believed in this love. I believed in what I had found. And so I said, no, I would stay with him. And
Were there times within the 9 years that you wanted to go back? Were there moments of awareness for you within those 9 years that you thought, you know what, this can't be life?
no, not really, because I didn't think there was anything else out there. I had left my family. I had, and I was pretty much cut off. My sisters were flown out of the country to continue schooling. My only brother was in the US when this happened, and he was just so mad at me. I remember when he came back for like a year, I'm not sure he refused to see me because he was so angry, like why I did that. So I didn't think I had any option. It was like, you're here, might as well deal with it. But after 9 years, I was tired. I was tired of not knowing my sister's kids. So my sister, after me, had gotten married. I wasn't there. My brother came back. He got married. I wasn't invited. And those are things I can never take back. And then they started having children, and I didn't know their children. They didn't know mine. And it was so crazy. And I just really wanted to make peace with my family. And he just wasn't seeing the need for it. I guess it was just the fullness of time because it wasn't even so much of the abuse because it wasn't something that was happening every day. You
Mm,
know, I didn't like how he treated the kids because, yes, of course, I got to know, he told me how his father abused him and he didn't like what his father used to do to him. Unfortunately, we become what we hate.
mm.
He never dealt with it. And although he was once a victim, he became an abuser. And
Users.
so my kids didn't really grow up, normal. Like they could be bitten if they peed on the bed, if they were playing and they fell, even as young as age 3 and age 2, and which is ridiculous to think
Mm,
about.
mm.
But it was what it was. And I would if I try to get in the way, I would get my own fair share of all of that. And that was a lot to deal with. But again, I didn't think I had options. But the fullness of time came in 2009, and I just was tired. I wanted peace with my family. So when I left originally, it wasn't really that I was walking away. I tried to make peace with my family. But the way he started reacting was just weird. It was like, come back. You have to come. So at this point, I was traveling. I was working in another city. And
Mhm.
so I had the times where I would go away. So it was on one of such trips where I went to work that I tried to
Come to
reconcile with my family. And so he got to know I was trying to do that. And it was just a lot of threats. You have to come back, you have to come back. And I'm like, no, why don't you let the kids come? Let's get to the end of this. Let people try to go and make peace with my family. We already have 2 kids. It's gonna work. But he just wasn't ready. And I think I really got scared at that point, and I wasn't sure what he would do to me for even trying to
crying.
do that. And I just never looked back. And so I left the kids for a few months. Those would have to be the hardest moments that
Okay.
any mother can even imagine, not to
How,
think
how
of.
old were they when?
So it was 2009. My oldest Asha was 7, and Yadel was 5, going on 6.
Oh,
So they were really young, and I knew that they were not going to, you know, they were not going to be safe, if you know what I mean. Because even when I was there, he would, beat them in a way that just was too much. It
mm,
just
mm,
didn't make sense. It
mm.
just didn't make sense. So finally, August 2009, like I pray, I believe so much in prayers. And I was praying he would call and say, you will never see these kids until they're 18. I mean, Asha is 18 now. So come to think of it, this would have been about the time I was supposed to have access to them,
Oh.
but I just would like, God, I never did anything to this guy to deserve the way I was treated. I gave up everything. I believed in this, and you just have to fight for me.
Mm,
And I just, would pray. I remember getting a new home. So I stayed on in that city. I got a new home. I got a bedroom apartment. And so I had my room. I started buying clothes for their room. I would, lay my hands on the clothes. I would pray. I would call their names. I remember in August,
day that they would be there
yeah,
with
that they would come. Yeah. I remember in August, I went to a school and I took the forms and I filled it. And the lady, after a while, she's like, can you bring the kids? They have to do like an entrance exam. And so I looked at her. It was a Christian school. And I said, can I talk to you? I said, I'm actually a single mom. My kids are not with me. I'm just doing this in faith because I want them to be here in September. They have to start school here. And this was when I was hearing till they're 18. And, I just held on. I held on, and she believed with me. And she was like, okay, I'm going to believe God with you that they will come. And so this was all in August. Middle of August, a friend of mine loses her father. They're so devastated. I used to plan events at that point. And so they asked me to come help the family put the whole thing together. And so we
mm,
traveled. We traveled to where I used to school. As a matter of fact, this is interesting. It just dawned on me. Um, the compound, the family home where the funeral happened, was
Okay.
where we met
Oh,
because
wow.
yes, the local church used to meet there. So
Mm,
it was a big compound, and so the local church had built like a cutout facility, but over time they got a bigger place. But
mm,
that building, that location was where we met. That's where I met him. It was right there at the local church. And it's funny just thinking about it now, but my mom, I remember when they heard, they were like, be careful, you don't want people to let him know that you were there, because up until this point I had not seen him. I had tried once to get the kids in May, because I left in April 2009. In May, after a month, I went with my uncles, and there was just no reasoning with him. He just was like, I haven't told her to go anywhere. She's my wife. She has to come back. And I was like, hell no, this guy could just kill me in my
mm,
sleep. I mean, like, I just was scared. It could have been my imagination, but I was just really scared of just not being there anymore.
mm,
And so I remember when we were driving off, he thought we were going to get the kids at school, and he started chasing after us. It was like a movie. I was so scared.
uh,
Thankfully, one of the people that went with us was a police officer, very respected. So he had already, like, spoken to a few people, the local police station, and in case of anything. But he started chasing us. He chased us downtown, and then we turned. And I was in the car. The police officer was driving, and I was just like, "You uncle, move, move! He's coming, he's coming!" And then I noticed, as we drove past the kids' school, I noticed his mom and a few other people were there. Apparently, they were there in case I was
okay,
going to take them.
gonna take the. Oh
I
my.
was even thinking that because I thought he would just let the kids go with me. And then by the time we drove past the school, drove past the old house where I used to be, then he stopped. And then
Mm,
at that point, I realized, oh, he was chasing after us because maybe he felt there was a plan to get the kids, and because for him the kids were like his card.
yeah, yeah, that was it. It's a control thing, isn't it? If I have her kids, then I will make her come back. Essentially.
Yeah, so that had happened in May, and so in August it was just like, make sure you're careful, don't let word go out, but it was so heartbreaking because I couldn't talk to the kids all
Mm,
that time. It was devastating.
can't imagine.
It was devastating. But from nowhere, I'm in Ekoma planning this funeral, and my phone rings, and he says, "Come get the kids." And I'm like, "No, I'll call you back." And I call my mom, and she's like, "Oh, he must be aware that you're in the area. Tell him you're not coming, that you're going to send someone." And I call him back, and I'm like, "I'm not available." It's like, "Send whoever you want to send." And so my cousins and my
Wow.
uncle get ready. And the next day they head over, and they're calling me as they're getting close. And when they get there, they're calling me. And before you know it,
Just like that.
in minutes, like they called maybe like 2:04 p.m., like we are there. Like 2:10, they're like, we're on our way. He had packed everything, all the things I left, because I left my stuff. The kids, just put them in the car. I was like, oh my God. It wasn't the time of WhatsApp. I probably would have done a video call with my kids, just to see them. But they finally got to me. And it was just something, just seeing how they looked. And I was like, oh dear Lord. But I was happy having them back. This
So,
was in 2009, you
and it's
know.
hard to understand the mindset of some people because what would have precipitated that? Just saying, you know what, it's time, come and have them. It's
I
what?
don't know. I just know that God answers prayers. I have no idea, but I just know God answers prayers because it's
Hallelujah.
just some things that, for me, it's just knowing that the God factor, because there are things we can't explain. There are just things we can't find the words to describe. For me, for that,
That was God.
that's it
That
was
was
God. There's nothing else. There's nothing else.
fantastic. I love so a couple of things I want to explore now. So first of all, your resolve to not go back, because
Mm.
conscious that that so many people are going to be listening to this, and a lot of people who are probably themselves, might be victims of abuse themselves. It's hard
Mhm.
to make that decision and you remove yourself. Sometimes there's a tendency to be like, you know what, it's not that bad. You almost try and
Mhm.
reframe it. Well, it was just a slap, or it wasn't that
Mhm.
bad. Maybe the kids
Mhm.
did. You kind of almost talk yourself back into it. I want to
Mhm.
talk about that resolve and how you can kind of shed some light on it to help somebody else who is perhaps in a situation that is similar.
Right. So I would say this for a very long time, it's so funny. Like God is so amazing. I,
Mm,
he sees ahead.
mhm,
We see in parts, we know in parts, but God just has this big picture, right? I started reading books. You see, that 9 months, that period I was trying to get into the University of Ibadan was when I started worshiping at Living Faith Church,
mm,
also known as Winners Chapel. And there was something the bishop used to talk about a lot, and there was always the book of the month.
mhm,
And it was while at Winners I started learning and enjoying the habit of reading.
mhm,
And I would always have a book with me. I remember that year he came. No, he didn't come. So Dr. Myles Munroe was invited to come and speak. Maybe that was even his first time in Nigeria, 1998. I can never forget. I left Ibadan to Lagos, and I just was in awe. I've never heard all that teaching about purpose and potential. And I got books. I remember, as I'm saying it now, I remember Living Faith Church wasn't this big. I remember at some point, Bishop Oyedepo and Dr. Miles walked out, and I was just somewhere just looking, and I almost went close. It wasn't the time of protocol. I
mm,
almost just went close to, like, there was just something really just pulling me. I
mm,
didn't know what it was, but I just,
mm,
I ended up not going, but I bought all the books and I started reading. So for a while, especially in that 1.5, almost 2 years where I was at home before I had to go back to Ekwamar, where I would then meet him, I kept reading. So I understood purpose, I understood potential. And so for me at that point, it was really like, no.
this
At
is it.
that point, it was like, there's more. There's
Mm,
more to me. And then I understood, yes, I made a mistake. And it's important here to say this because I talk about it a lot. I gave myself the greatest gift ever, which is the gift of forgiveness.
mm,
Get it to that place where I forgave myself and I forgave everyone. It didn't matter, even till date. I could see my ex now and not feel like, oh my God, I lost my life no, 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 there's nothing like that. In all
mm,
honesty, I wish him well. I pray for him. I
mm,
really do, because it's what it is, right? It's what it is. But truth be told, just being in that place of understanding that there is so much to who I am as a person, regardless of the mistakes that I made. And of course, choosing to forgive everyone else in the process allowed me to not just stand behind the decision of not going back, but it also allowed me heal from all that I had gone through. And
mm.
that was important for the next season of my life.
Mm. One of the things I always say to people is that it's important that you have support, a supportive tribe. If it's not family, it's people that will help you hold your ground and support you and say, don't worry, you can do this, and keep you true to the things that you've determined in your heart to do. How would you say
Mhm.
support helped you, staying true and not going back? The fact that you went back to your family, who then, hopefully opened their arms
Yeah,
and let you back in.
yeah. Yeah, so with family reconciliation was a process. It was a journey. Everyone had been hurt. I mean, the whole decision had literally ripped my family apart. How we are still a family is a miracle, because there was the blame game. My dad blamed my mom blamed my dad, and I still hear tales of all the things that happened while I was away. I never imagined that one decision would cause such a ripple effect
Mm,
in, my family, but it did. And yes, going back, reconciling and asking everyone to forgive me and just trying to get back to being a sister, a daughter, and all of that again. It took some time, so that was happening, but we were not in the same city. But I mean, I would travel for Christmas, so all of that was happening, and we would have all these family gatherings, and so we were trying to catch up.
mm,
That took time, but I mean, we're at an amazing place. It's 11 years now since I left, and it's been great. My sisters draw so much inspiration from my journey and my life. My TED talk that happened last year at Providence, my baby sister, she was how old? She was 7. She was 7 when I left home. She was 7. No, she was 8. She was born in 1992. She was 8 years old when I left home. And she came. She flew all the way from Toronto to be at my TED talk, and that was quite amazing. I actually even mentioned it in the talk when you
mm,
listen to it, and so the family was there, but it was
people.
happening on the side. But truth be told, I think also opening my heart to heal and being at that place where I was um, I was ready and willing to walk with God and to embrace all that God still had for me,
I love.
regardless of the mistake and the mistakes that I had made. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about God, really,
Mm,
is knowing that yes, we may miss the mark, we may go our way, we may choose our path that is
mm,
different from his, but he just has a way of, restoring us, especially when we come back,
mm.
in that place of humility and saying, you know what, I missed it.
I missed it.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I love it.
I'm sorry. Have mercy.
Have
But
mercy.
can you use this vessel? If you can use anything, can you maybe use me?
And he's always open to. I love what you
Yeah,
say. I love
yeah.
that you were willing and open to embrace all that God still had for you. So I want to talk about a little bit about that. So you've got your kids back now. You're on this road to reconciliation with your family. You are working. So what were the next few years like, and what did you see? You knew that there was more, as you said, but
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
do you see? Where do you start when you're starting again?
Yeah. So forgiving myself and forgiving others, of course, allowed my heart to be open to healing. Healing is important because hurting people hurt others. And I was a single mom for 4 years, and I remember God literally moved me out of that city. So I
Oh,
moved to Abuja and I got into network marketing. I was doing so well. And I had a downline who had grown up in the city of Ilorin in Kwara State, another state entirely, not anything like where I was. And we got there for like a business opportunity meeting, and my heart was at peace. I
mm,
just was like, I love it here. It was so strange. Like, there's nothing here, but I seriously loved it. And obviously, God was up to something. I didn't know any better. I just knew I loved it. And after like two business opportunity meetings, I decided I was going to move with my
mm.
kids.
Oh,
And
wow.
so December 2009 into January 2010, I moved. I relocated. Remember, I got the kids back in August 2009. And so they had started that school as God did it. And we were in the Christmas break was on, and I moved. I moved with them. Now, I thought I was moving for business, but I didn't know God had plans because
Oh,
that season was a season of separation. So
mm,
I literally went from all the comfort of Abuja, my new circle of friends. I was doing so well. I was a senior manager in the network marketing company. I was earning a lot. Far back then, I was earning as much as $3,000 a month. It was a lot of money, a
wow.
lot of money. I'm telling you, 11 years ago, you know, and I was comfortable. I wasn't lacking anything. And so I moved with the kids, and then within a few months, the business went cold. I was like, Lord, like,
What?
I'm telling you, the whole team, it was just like all the people I had high hopes
Hmm.
in, like, oh, we were going to take over. I was like, no way. But I found myself in another great local church. And this time around, the pastor and his wife were really amazing to me. I mean, they would take me out, as a single mom, we would just have conversations. They really cared. So that was a great support
Mm.
community for me. And so for 4 years I was there. I went back to school. I went back to school to become certified as a life coach at the University of Cape Town Graduate School of Business. And I started a nonprofit, making a difference positively. And so I was busy. I was busy, but my heart was also open to finding love again. But
Mm.
I wasn't really desperate, and I didn't have this, all men are bad. You know how you experience something and then you try to put everybody in a box. No, no, no. My heart was open. I knew there were great guys out there. And so December 2012, I just felt a stirring in my spirit. Oh, but something profound happened also in that 2012 of going back to school. I got to meet Dr. Myles Munroe in
Oh wow,
person.
did you? Where?
So he came to speak at an event in Imo State in Nigeria, and
Oh,
I had access to the organizers. Like it was so good. Like we stayed together, we had lunch together, we went to the events together, we sat together. He wrote in my journal, he wrote in my book. We flew to Lagos together. I rode in his car with him, and I eventually ended up in his mentorship program. So he mentored me personally until his passing in 2014. Like he died, no, not 2014. No, actually, yes, he died in 2014. I was pregnant with Samuel when he passed away. So 2 years later, he passed away. But, his legacy lives on. I'm one of the people who
we-
continue the work of Dr. Myles Munroe, really just teaching others about purpose and knowing that God has blessed them with gifts and abilities and they cannot afford to take it to the grave. So
and he's
2012,
one of the evangelists of Dying Empty. So
oh,
now
absolutely. Yeah,
I
now, exactly. When you listen to me long enough, you would know where I have been fed. Dr. Myles Munroe. I mean,
okay, that
he
makes
lives
sense now.
on. Yes, he lives on. He lives on. And so 2012, all of that good stuff happens. It was also another very challenging year because my ex was getting married. And so he reached out to me and I was like, oh, yay. Because I actually prayed for that. I wanted him to settle first. And so he said he wanted the kids for his wedding. I said, sure. And this was when I was about going to school in South Africa, although I was just going to be gone for a few weeks because it was a very beautiful program. So I could go to school, come back, and then everything else was virtual. Then I would go back to school. So I didn't need to be in South Africa. So I said, okay, I'll be away for a while. I'll come back. And the kids were on the Easter holidays. So I said, it's perfect. You can have them, why not? My heart was open.
Uh-huh.
I came back at the end of April. I'm like, okay, I'm back, and the kids have to resume school first week in May. And he says they're not going anywhere.
Not
Like
again.
what? Yeah, like what? He's like, no, my brother apparently knew the girl he got married to, and he was like, he heard my brother say stuff, and so my brother has to apologize. And I'm like, dude, in my mind, I'm still trying to work things out with my brother. You can't be saying this. But it was what it was. And he just got married. So my family felt if we try to fight him, people might think we're making trouble because he got married. And so my parents said, let him have the kids. Oh, another 7 months of torture. Seriously. I finally got the kids back. I just want to say how. I mean, this time around we got a lawyer. I did get a call from someone saying to me, "You better come get these kids." And I this time we got the law. I got a lawyer, got welfare, And he had given me custody of the kids because when he was going to get married, he had done the whole divorce thing, and I got custody. I knew he would give me custody, but you know, I was wondering what that was about because he made sure I got custody because he knew I was going to take care of the kids anyway. And it wasn't like we are going to get support from him financially and otherwise. And I didn't mind. Just let me have my babies.
My kids, yeah, let me
And
have a.
so 7 months, he's holding on to them. I can't speak to them. I remember my birthday that year. I was hoping they would call. Later, they would tell me he wouldn't let them call me. And it was really bad. But I got my kids 31st, no, 30 days in September, April, June, and November. All the rest of 31. Okay. 31st of October. Yes, I just did that. I don't know if anyone else does it,
I
but
do.
October 31st, because I wasn't sure anymore. It's October 30 days, but I remember it was the last day of October. I got my kids and they've been with me ever since, So
My God's
that was
grace.
2012. Yes.
Anyway,
So they're
now,
adults now. I mean, the first one is 18. The second one is going to be 17 next month. The first is going to be 19 in March. So they're grown-up men, and it's what it is. But 2012, so back to some good stuff. 2012 December, I'm feeling like something's coming. I'm not sure what it is, but there's a newness. So I'm cleaning up my home, my office. I get a young kid who is 18 from church because I had a lot of young people who just were like, "Oh, Sister Naomi, Sister Naomi." I was living the life. I was serving God. I was serving humanity. I had a nonprofit. I had a radio show. I had school empowerment programs. I was going to local schools to empower the kids. So I was busy.
I,
And
Naomi, do you know how much I love you say that? I love to hear you say that because a lot of people think that once you've had an episode like you had, that is it. You don't live the life. There are two factors. There's you can't find happiness again. That's number one. And then there's the number two. Even if you find happiness, it has to be with another man. It has to be. But there you were in that space and you owned it.
Oh my God. You would meet me and you would want to be a single mom. There was nothing. There was no like, woe is me. And I believed God. Recently, we have a very popular actress in Nigeria. She had come to my local church then in Kwara State, and I was in charge of hospitality. And she reminded me recently of how she heard me talk about finding love again and being married. And she said to me recently, she said, Naomi, you don't understand. She said, I looked at you and I was like, after 2 children, this girl can dream, Sha. Like, this girl is a dreamer. She said it to me. She said it to me, and I have so much respect for her for being so honest. Like, that was how much I believed in just something fresh and new. So I didn't have any feeling of, oh, I have 2 kids, who's going to want me? No, I understood my worth. I knew.
That is a beautiful moment. I understood my worth. I hope you guys are here. I hope you guys are spirit behind this.
I'm telling you.
My worth. That is amazing.
I'm telling you. We need more people doing that. You have to know who you are. You have to, even as a mom, even as a woman. I mean, it got really beautiful because that 18-year-old ended up introducing me to his uncle who was in another city. And by January, after weeks of him telling me there's this uncle of mine, and we never discussed marriage. For Christ's sake, I was 35, he was 18. What are we discussing? He would come help me with move stuff, and then later he would come and play video games with the boys, and that was it. So he would just come, Sister Naomi, and so that was what it was. There was no conversation about love. Hello. But he just was like, I don't know what got into him. I was like, this is uncle of mine. I'm like, shut up your mouth. Uncle of yours. Did I tell you I was looking for a husband? But 2013 came, and I remember it was the first week in January. We were in church, and I heard the words, like, you're praying for something, and then God is answering, and you're not seeing it.
Ooh.
I just knew. in my heart, perhaps, maybe, could this be?
Oh.
And then I said to him, okay, can I see a picture of this uncle?
And then you saw
Hmm.
it. Ooh.
Hmm. He's a pleasant sight for sore eyes. But I wasn't just gonna be carried away. And we got talking. I think it was that day I was like, dude, I've got kids. I'm a single mom, like I ain't got nothing to hide. You
And
have
thank
to
you
know
from the get
it's
go.
a full package, you know? And he had never been married, he had no kids. So he was like, okay, I'm cool. And he came after a month, he came, met me, met the boys, and we clicked. And after the thing 2 months, my parents got to know, and they were like, go check with his family, this is Africa, go
Mm.
check if they're going to be okay with all of this. And so his family get to meet me, and all his father wanted to know was, am I willing to have kids? I'm like, well, I'm still young, yeah, I'm open. I'm not like, yeah, I have two sons, but I'm open to having kids with your son, as long as God gives us, but yes. And they gave their blessings. And by August that year, just before my 37th birthday, I got married again.
Boom. Boom. I
Got
love it.
married again. And so we're blessed with Sparkle. Sparkle is here from this one, and Samuel. And August this year was 7 years. 7 years,
Beautiful. Beautiful.
and he's a good man.
I
He's a
love
good
it.
man. Yes, the kids are here, and we're one big, big happy family. Like, we've had our fair share of challenges, as with every relationship, blending it all, but we're good. We're good. And I'm thankful. I'm grateful to God, because He gave me beauty for ashes, and
Beautiful.
He brought me to this place where, I mean, now I travel the world telling this story, and I can't even tell you the number of messages I receive from people who are just so inspired with my journey, and the hope that they have, knowing that, oh, you went through all of this, and this is who you are today. Like, you don't look like what you've been through. And I'm
Mm.
like, yep, it's what it is.
It is. It is. Naomi, I would love for you to speak directly to a woman listening to this who knows that she's living beneath her purpose, but she just doesn't even know where to start. She just thinks, I have no identity outside
Mm,
circumstances that I currently find myself. I wouldn't even know where to start. I want you to speak directly to them as somebody who has walked that walk, who has come out on
mm.
the other side. I would love for you to speak to them directly.
All right. So this is what I would say to you, beautiful queen, wherever you are in the world. The truth is, there's a reason why you are here for such a time as this. There's a reason why you are alive, and God has a purpose for you.
Mm.
I may not know what you've gone through. My story might be nothing compared to yours, because, yes, indeed, I have heard stories, and I know that, look, there are stories and there are stories. And maybe that's your story. Maybe you are still left with the scars. You feel betrayed. You feel, wounded. And all of that really hurts. I can't take away the hurt. I don't have that much power.
Mm.
But I do know someone who can take that away. And God did it for me, and He
Mm.
can do it for you.
Mm.
You just have to be willing to lay it all at His feet. And like I said to him, you know what? If you can use anything, can you use me? Regardless of the mistakes, regardless of everything that I did, regardless of the bad decisions I made, can you still use me? And
Mm.
He did, and He continues to use me. So I want you to make that decision today to go back to God. That is what I did. I don't know of any other thing to recommend. Like, that is the one true source of my strength, of my hope. That is my source. And so I would say, go to God in any way you can.
Mm.
Close the door. lie down, kneel down, stand up. Just surrender, like surrender and say, you know what? This is it. It's pretty
Mm.
messed up, but you can fix anything, you know? I love the description of the porter and how he takes the clay and he molds it, and it goes through all of the processes. God can take you and he can create beautiful artistry.
Yeah.
Just take it to him.
Mhm.
And I want you to understand that there's so much purpose in
Mm.
your pain. Your
Mm.
story is your gift. Whatever it is that you went through that did not kill you, God has given you a cure. Now, Queen, rise up, find your cure, and serve the world with the gift of you. Thank you.
Love that. Wow. That blessed me.
Thank
That was
you.
beautiful. The final thing I would like us to touch on, because I know that you are a mindset coach and everything in between, mindset queen, transformational expert. I want you to just kind of touch on some of your mindset principles, some of the things that you feel, have been pivotal for you in your journey of transformation into the person that you are now. What are some mindset things? I don't want to call them hacks, but some mindset
Mm,
principles that you feel have worked for you that you can share with my listeners today.
fantastic. So, in the area of mindset, mindset is key. Mindset is everything, some would say. Mindset is everything. I believe everything produces after its own kind. And the
Mm.
truth is, whatever it is that you see around you that you like or you don't like, guess what? You produced it. And you might be quick to say, no, Naomi, you don't understand. Oh, yes, I do understand. Because you have no control over how people will treat you. You have no control over circumstances that may come your way. However, you have control over how you choose to respond. And
Mm.
you are a sum total of your thoughts. Thoughts are creative forces and they form the world around us, whether we're conscious of it or not. And so it's important for you to pay attention to what you're thinking.
Mhm.
And one of the ways that I've helped my clients over the years is helping them create what we call a belief list, a new way of thinking, getting rid of the old way of thinking and creating a new way of thinking. And one of the things you must also note is be willing to have what we call a growth mindset. A lot of people have a fixed mindset. And fixed mindset is, you know what, I've gone through this, I've been raped, I've been abused, I'm divorced, and this is what it is. I can't be anyone
Yes.
that people would um, want to reckon with. People are not going to listen to me. I have nothing to say. That's what you think. That's a fixed mindset. Growth mindset says, no, this is what happened, but I can still make something out of my life. I can still take the lessons of my experience and I can share with others. Yes, my story is my gift, and I'm going to get out there and I'm going to bless the world with the gift of me. So, there are lots of things that you can begin to do today to get yourself away from what we call stinking thinking. Stinking thinking.
Can thinking.
Stinking thinking, where your thoughts literally stink and you know they stink. This is not in any way me trying to insult you, but you know it really is starting to stink and you know. So what do? Get rid of the old way of thinking and create a new way of thinking. Identify who you really are, know who you are. And I would say go back to the manufacturer, go back to God. He knows exactly why you are here. So if you're not sure, go back to the manufacturer and say, why am I here? What am I here for? What is my assignment?
Assignment. Yeah.
Show me the way and create a new belief list and begin to declare. Also, the power visualization. The power visualization. There's a very beautiful account of God telling Abraham at the beginning of the Bible, saying, "Look at the stars and count them." He said, "As far as your eyes can see."
And see. Yeah.
There was a lot to see, but it's what your eyes can see that you're going to receive, and that is important. So, what have you set before your eyes? What have you allowed into your spirit? Well, who are the people who have access to your ears? What are you listening to? What are you watching? I'm intentional about everything. My circle, the books I read, the movies I watch. There's some things that are no, they're deal breakers because I want to protect the space. I
Mm.
love that scripture that says, guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Guard your heart. Guard your heart with
Mm.
all diligence. Guard it.
Mm.
Guard it. But at the same time, I want you to be open to receiving that which is able to transform you. All right. So I'm just going to keep it at that. Like I could go on and on with
Beautiful.
mindset.
You have said enough to shift minds. So that is fantastic. So thank you very much. So final thing, Naomi, just let us know, where can we find you? What are the awesome things that you're up to today? I want to share all of you with my listeners. So I'd love for you to share with us.
Thank you so much. So I'm hanging out a lot on Instagram at Naomi Osemedua. So I'm sure, Tomber, you're going to put all the links there.
And
On my website, naomiosemedua.com. I also lead a movement called the Women with Stories. Look out for that, depending on when you're listening to this. Yes, we have a lot rolling up in a bit. By November 10th, 2020, it's going to be 20 years from that day when I ran away from home. And we're planning a little something. And someone said to me recently, like, Naomi, seriously? Because I was like, oh, it's my anniversary. And she was like, anniversary. So what are you wearing? What are you doing? She thought it was marriage. I was like, no, it's not my marriage. It's 20 years from when I ran away from home. She's like, what? That's an anniversary? And I'm like, oh yes, you betcha. It's an anniversary, you know. It's an anniversary because that which was meant to destroy me is the very same thing that I'm using to transform the world. And so it's really just getting people to see a different perspective. So it's a paradigm shift, just getting people to see failure a little differently, to see mistakes a little differently. There is no perfect person out there.
I
And
the power
yeah,
of owning your story as well, owning
oh,
your magic, embodying it, and being unapologetic about who you really are.
it's what it is. Take all of me or
Yeah.
leave me alone. Take it all.
I love it, love it, love it.
That's
Thank
it.
you so much, Naomi. This has been such an insightful conversation, and I have no doubt that people will be blessed, transformed, and mind woke as a result of this. So thank you so much for joining us today.